evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 17th, 2023 school board meeting. I'm going to ask everyone once again to please silence all cell phones. And at this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I'm going to ask Mr. Pistotnik, our school board representative, to lead us in the flag salute.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Now I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
A second.
Thank you. Student, do you approve of tonight's agenda?
Aye.
Thank you. Board members, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have an agenda. The first action item up tonight is to fill a board vacancy. And Dr. Stepp, I'm going to turn it right over to you first.
Madam President, members of the board, as the community is aware, on 2 days after Thanksgiving, I believe it was November 26th, a board member, Dr. Kate Videra, passed after an 18-month struggle with ALS. We are all heartbroken over that and have been in frequent communication and support with her family. To honor, remember, and spread the important messages that Dr. Videra gave us, we will be having a Kindness for Kate campaign coming up, I believe, next week. That is a national campaign. We have not participated ever before, but our directors of elementary and secondary did some research into that. Our principals have done a phenomenal job of putting together plans for that. There actually is some information for the board members on the dais. Oh, there it goes. Ms. Patterson's passing it around. And Ms. Patterson will have more information on that for the board. So we're very excited to celebrate Dr. Videra's legacy and impact on public education in Las Virgenes and our students and staff through that Kindness for Kate campaign. When there's a vacancy on the board, the state has very prescriptive procedures. The board has two options. They may call for a special election or go through an appointment process. When we analyzed and communicated with the state registrar, or the county registrar recorder that runs our election, is our election overseer, they shared that the next election date would be November 23, so we would have a vacancy for essentially 11 months. Certainly not optimal. Dr. Gleason also reached out to them to get a cost estimate for an election, and much to our surprise, the estimate came in at $1.5 million. We've never seen anything like that before. I think in the past we've had between $200,000 and $300,000 for election costs, but we would be the only agency on the ballot in November 2023. Other agencies could join. There could be other circumstances, but it certainly would not be anything like we just saw this most recent election cycle, where every one of our cities was on the ballot, our water district was on the ballot, the county supervisor position was on the ballot, a Congress seat was on the ballot, we had Senate seats and Assembly member seats on the ballot, along with the governor. So that we divide the cost of the election with all of the people on the ballot. At this point in November 2023, there would be no one, so we would bear the cost. Why is it so expensive? First off, we'd be the only agency on the ballot. Second off, they do vote by mail ballots to each home. We have 46,000 registered voters, and it is essentially a 16-page pamphlet or booklet of instructions in multi-languages that go out. So we've got to pay the printing costs for that, along with the new 11-day open voting location. So we'd have to cover the cost for a voting location center in our district, and that would be open and staffed for 11 days. So those are some of the considerations. With that information, the board chose to go the appointment route. It was posted over the last couple weeks in the local paper. We had a number of folks pull applications, and I believe we have 5 candidates tonight. So here we are, Madam President.
Thank you very much. I'm going to repeat a little bit of what Dr. Stepp just said because I think it's important to be said by your school board. Sadly, our beloved and valued board member Kate Videra passed away November 26, 2022, leaving a vacancy on the Board of Education. At the December 13th board meeting, the board was provided with options of either holding a special election or appointing someone to serve the remainder of her term till November 2024. The board voted 4-0 to appoint a person to fill the remaining term of Dr. Videra. While the district knew a special election could not be held until November 23rd, and thus providing a board member for only 1 year, LA County confirmed and updated the projected cost of a special election to just under $1.5 million. Their letter with detailed information and explanation is included in tonight's agenda. The board received 5 applicants from the residents within the boundaries of the Las Virgenes Unified School District. All applicants meet the eligibility criteria to serve on the Board of Education. The board would like to thank all 5 applicants for your engagement, for your support of our students, staff, and the community of LVUSD. We are grateful for your willingness to serve on the Board of Education. Your passion for education is commendable. We appreciate the applicant's time and interest in serving our community. We have run a thoughtful and transparent process. The board has reviewed materials and process used by the California School Board Association, other school districts, LA County Office of Ed, as well as we have engaged in the guidance and advice of legal counsel. We have with us here today legal counsel Jay Furno of the firm Fagan, Friedman, and Fullfrost LLP law firm. So now at this point, I want to review the interview process, how this is going to go down tonight. So the interview order has been determined by alphabetical order of first names. The order is Alan Lazar, Jill Gaines, Kiyomi Kowalski, Ron Kaiser, and Russell Todd Zink. All of the applicants will be interviewed one at a time. All applicants will wait in a separate room and will be called in one at a time. We ask that the applicants and their guests not text or communicate with each other during this special meeting. The goal is to provide a fair process for all of our applicants. There are refreshments provided for you in the other room. Once a candidate has finished their interview, they are welcome to stay in the boardroom and listen to others, because at that point, you're done. Each candidate will have the same 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement. Each candidate will be asked 4 questions and will have 2 minutes to answer each of the questions. A timer will be set, Mr. Klein, and out of courtesy for the process, we ask that you keep to the time allotted. You don't want me gaveling you off, so please keep to the time allotted. Board members, this is for you. We will not ask follow-up or clarifying questions so as to allow each applicant equal time. In the spirit of fairness, there will be no perception of giving an advantage to any candidate or candidates by allowing them more time to clarify or expand on any answer. Once the applicants have left the room, we will hear from any speakers who wish to speak on behalf of an applicant, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Then we will begin with the first applicant. When we have finished all of the interviews, the Board of Education will deliberate and vote. If there's not an outright winner or a tie vote, we will seek counsel from Attorney Jay Furno on next steps. If a new board member is voted in by a majority of the board, the oath of office will be administered by Dr. Dan Stepanowski, Superintendent. The term of office is until the next regularly scheduled Board of Education election, which is November 2024. The new board member then will be seated right here on the dais. The board will then adjourn to closed session. We will resume the regular board meeting at 6 o'clock. At this point, I ask that all applicants follow Mrs. Bergstrom into another room to wait your turn, please. Are there any speakers for any of the applicants?
As Mr. Furnow advised me, this is an opportunity for anyone to speak about the process or any of the candidates.
Thank you, Mr. Purnell. Would anybody like to speak at this point? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for Mr. Lazar to be brought back into the room?
The time is showing as per usual, right, on the podium? Okay. Thanks.
Why can't I go that far?
Right.
Just left.
Mrs. Bergstrom, where did they go?
Where did you?
She just left. Lost them already. Oh. I think it's fine. Don't overstress about the volume. It's fine at the volume. You don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's about like 7 up. Go to the back of the room.
Welcome to the podium, Mr. Lazar. Can... You might need to pull that a little closer. Yeah. Okay, we want to make sure we can hear you, so take your time. Can we turn it up a little bit, Mr. Klein?
Or on.
I know, right, or on.
If you guys need.
We want the camera to be able to hear you.
Yes, we want the camera to hear you as well.
Great. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Is that,
Can you hear it?
can you hear it?
Good, go.
Greg? Okay. Welcome, Mr. Lazar.
Thank you. Yeah,
There you go.
you got it.
Ah, perfect, thank you. Welcome. The timer is set for 2 minutes for your opening statement, and after that, Mrs. Cutbill will start with our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I realized today it was exactly 7 years ago that my family moved to Calabasas, and the reason was the excellent LVUSD schools. Education transformed the life of both me and my husband. I traveled from South Africa to the United States as a Fulbright scholar to USC Film School, which changed my life forever. And my husband was the first kid in his very large, extended Mexican-American family to go to college. He attended UCLA and later became a physician. So when it came time to educate our 2 beloved daughters, who are the joy of our lives, we wanted to give them the very best education. And they are now in 2nd and 6th grade in LVUSD schools. I believe that the world today is a very, very different place from what it was 10 years ago. And parents and kids are facing a lot of very different things to what they were facing 10 years ago. And this is even more so after the pandemic. I think we're facing a pandemic of device and screen addiction, with the associated, sometimes toxic effects of social media. And I think we're also facing the rise of artificial intelligence in the world. I chair the events committee for the Production Music Association, and at our production music conference last year on a competitive panel for the very first time, an AI beat the human competitors. So I think our kids need to be prepared for the world that's coming. And not only do they need a really strong academic background in English language arts and math, but they also need an education which instills creativity and curiosity for the careers of tomorrow. I've participated in, is my time already up? Oh boy, I timed it at home, but I guess it wasn't good enough. Okay.
Thank you very much. And now we are going to start with our questions. Mrs. Cutbill, will you start with the first question, please? And you have 2 minutes to respond to that as well.
Sure. Oh, the time is there. Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for being here. Please tell us why you are interested in joining this board at this time.
Well, I believe very, very strongly that parents in LVUSD schools are facing very new challenges. And many of us are Gen X or millennial parents. I think there's a bunch of Gen Z parents starting to appear in our schools as well. And I think the world that we've grown up in and the world that our children are growing up in is a very brave new world where change is happening very quickly at light speed. And I just think the perspectives of these parents do need to be heard to some degree. Beyond that, I just love working in community organizations. I have for many years in my film and TV career, in the Production Music Association, of which I'm an elected board member. I get a real kick out of helping our members, the composers and publishers. At Bay Laurel, I've been part of the School Site Council for 6 years, the elected chair for 5 years. And I feel I know our community very well. I know the challenges the local schools are facing. Again, I get pleasure from what we've done at Bay Laurel and how we've improved the school. And I would really love to do that, I guess, on a bigger scale. So these are primarily the things that motivate me. I also just believe that, the U.S. today is such a divided, polarized place. And yet, at a local level, I truly believe that pragmatic and non-ideological people can work together to find common goals, to find common ground, to build bridges, and to make effective action, not only to enhance stability, but also to create positive change for our citizens and for our students. Was
Thank
my
you.
timing better than time?
No, that's good. On the
Thank
money.
you very much. Okay, Mrs. Mangas with question number 2.
So, Mr. Lazar, could you articulate 2 things you value or respect about LVUSD and 2 areas where, as a new board member, you would work to improve or advance or add during the next 2 years?
Absolutely. I think to start with 2 things which I really admire about LVUSD. I think when you're a new parent, when you first kind of get your kids into elementary school, you realize really quickly that what the backbone of a school is the teachers. I've learned that the veteran teachers are actually the real gold, I feel. Shout out to Mrs. Sternbuck at Bay Laurel. It's those teachers who've been around for 20, 30 years who just truly know how to connect with students. And I would say that the LVUSD teachers are one of the strongest parts about it. I actually also really admire the fact that LVUSD has the edX program, because one of the things we've learned at Bay Laurel is that a principal like Dr. Jackie Duncan, an administrator, was kind of the glue that we so needed to get the school moving in the right direction. So I feel we have very, very strong administrators. If there were 2 things that I think maybe require a little bit more focus, I'm a little concerned at how math test scores have taken a little bit of a dip in the past few years, and I don't believe this is a problem specific to LVUSD. I think it's a national problem, and it's a California problem, and it's connected to some of the things I mentioned at the beginning, stuff like device addiction and social media, and just students' brains being fried by all these things. But at the same time, I think I would like to see more focus on math as it's intricately connected with the careers of tomorrow in engineering, in medicine, in computer science. And just finally, facilities and infrastructure improvement, which I'm very happy to see that Measure S was passed. I was very involved in that on a local level. So.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lawrence.
Great. Kind of building off how you ended that question, can you share any insight, anything you know about LVUSD's budget, our process, our fiscal challenges, including the bond and parcel programs you just mentioned?
I have looked briefly over the LVUSD budget in the past few months because I was interested in all of this. I think LVUSD faces a very fundamental challenge in that its funding from the state is so low compared to many other districts. And also other affluent districts such as Beverly Hills are able to pull funding from property taxes, which we are not. So I think there are going to be ongoing challenges in this regard. I think fiscal accountability to its citizens is obviously very important. I have a long history in business. A lot of what I've done as a composer actually is on the business side of things. My production music catalog that I started in 2009 became profitable in 2 years, and I later sold it to a Hollywood studio. And I think I know how to read a balance sheet. I know how to figure out how to balance income and expenses to get to a positive number, which is obviously what we all need to do. I do think obviously Measure S changes the equation substantially, and I think that's really great that there is that new set of funding, particularly for infrastructure. That said, though, I think Measure S, it's more than $300 million. You spread that over 10 years, and it's $35 million a year for an entire district. It's not that much money, and it needs to be really carefully and thoughtfully spent to focus on the things that are really going to help our students in the future, that are really going to give them as best an education as they can possibly have to face this very different and challenging world that we all live in.
Thank you. And the final question is from me. What is the role of the board in working with the superintendent, district employees, parents, students, and the community?
Well, I think at a fundamental level, I think the board is there to represent the citizens of the district, and it's there to represent all the citizens of the district, be they parents with kids in schools or citizens who do not have kids in schools. That said, I think those interests are the same at the end of the day, because to have excellent public schools is great for everybody in the district, whether they have kids in those schools or not, because excellent public schools promote stability, they promote community, they promote property values. So it's good for everybody. I think in almost all instances, those things are aligned. I think sometimes the board and administration interests may differ in small ways, but essentially I would think they are always aligned. And whenever differences might arise, I believe very strongly they should be resolved civilly and with respect. And there's no need for, like the craziness that's going on in Washington recently, there's no need for that at a local level. Things should all be resolved civilly and with respect between people. And I believe that very, very strongly. I do think beyond that, there are other stakeholders in the district that the board pragmatically must deal with. And that is, first of all, what I said is the goal of the district, and that is teachers. They are fundamental to creating a public school district, and the board needs to bear them in mind at all times. And I also think that the district staff work incredibly hard. Working in a public or governmental organization is often not as well recompensed as the CEOs of companies who earn tens of millions of dollars and so on. And sorry, I got cut off at the best bit.
Thank you. And thank you for respecting the time limit. And now it's your closing statement. So you can finish, you can say whatever you want for 2 minutes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you for the interview today. If appointed to the school board, I will bring new and fresh perspectives from a 30-year career built around intellectual property in music, film, and books. In my career, I have worked tirelessly for many years in community organizations like the Production Music Association, of which I'm an elected board member. Locally, it's been very rewarding for me to work as the elected chair of the Schoolside Council at Bay Laurel, and I have a deep understanding of the current challenges of local schools and their parent and student community. We were all very proud at Bay Laurel to get a shout out in the Acorn as the school which improved the most during the pandemic. We actually upped our math scores by 7%, although I do want to point out that our amazing principal, Dr. Jackie Duncan, had probably the biggest part to do with that. Finally, I am the proud parent of 2 amazing daughters in LVUSD schools, and I believe I will bring a fresh perspective based on the reality of contemporary school life for kids today and the challenges that Gen X and millennial parents and their kids face in a very new age where things continue to accelerate at the speed of light. I give you my promise that I will bring passion and respect and kindness and great detail to the work that I do on this board if I am appointed, and I most humbly ask you all for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You are welcome to stay until the end, so please have a seat, and thank you so much.
Great.
What?
Thank you so much to all of you.
Yeah, you don't have to, but you're welcome to stay.
The bar across the street for 15 minutes. That's your choice.
Okay, Mrs. Gaines is up next. This is our, were you really on the show? Okay, we want to see it. Send us a link. You were in the Newlywed Game? Oh, and we're being recorded.
That's 100% findable on YouTube. We can find that.
I guess you did well. You're still married. You lost.
Can we drop that topic, please?
Good evening, Mrs. Gaines, and welcome to the podium. The timer is set for 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepp, introductions are necessary. Jill Gaines, a former board member in which I served 2 terms. Let me open by saying that I want to extend my condolences to the Videra family, the district. She was incredible, dedicated board member, loving wife and mother, talented professional, credible person all around. My condolences to her family. She's missed. Let me also add that today we lost another woman, great woman, my mother-in-law, Fred's mom. And she also will be missed, but she had a great long life. Okay, I'll pull myself together. I got it. The reason I just wanted to say that I'm here today because when I was on the board, I can't see my 2 minutes, but, oh, yes, I can. We also had an opening in which we appointed a former board member. So there was a history of doing this. By doing so, provide something seamless and easy. I don't have much of a learning curve. I have bond experience, and I will not run again. I will retire if I'm appointed.
Thank you. That's it?
That's it. I'm very
Okay.
concise.
Now we're going to move on to questions. Mrs. Menges will ask the first question, and you have 2 minutes to answer each question.
Ms. Gaines, please tell us why you are interested in joining this board at this time.
I'm interested because remain, while my children are all well past the schools here, I remain dedicated to this district just by my presence here tonight, despite my last few days. And again, I think if I'm appointed, I provide something seamless for the board and the community. I can jump right in. I have the experience. I have the knowledge. And I've been voted in by the voters on 2 occasions. And so I'm approved by the community. And again, will not run at the end of the term.
Thank you. Set the timer for 2 minutes. And next up is Mr. Lawrence.
Hi. Can you share 2 things that you value or respect about the district, and maybe 2 areas where, as a returning board member, you would like to maybe focus on improving or advancing during the next 2 years?
Okay, well, two things I value are staff and teachers. We have an incredible group of people in the district that are dedicated to learning and to our children. What I also value is the district's dedication to always trying to improve. I mean, we're a very high-performing district, but they never rest on their laurels. Always looking for ways to improve, to provide more opportunities for our students, more options, and very proud of that.
And two areas that you would like to see improved or advanced upon during your time?
I think we can always look for more options for our students, look for more ways to enhance the budget, and probably I think a lot about our volunteer pools, and maybe there are some school districts across the country that really have some advanced models of volunteer networks, and maybe that's something we could look into to help with tutoring or special ed needs, or a way to minimize class size reduction.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Klein, will you reset the timer, please? Mrs. Gaines, what do you know about LVUSD's budget and fiscal challenges, including bond and parcel tax programs?
Well, I would say that on the 8 years that I served, I think 7 or 8 of them I was on Finance Committee. So I'm very familiar with the budget. I'm very familiar with the challenges. Assuming things haven't changed, we are not funded at the same level as some of our neighboring districts, and we do a lot on a smaller budget. It's repeat, what were the details of the question?
About the budget, the fiscal challenges, including the bond and parcel tax program.
So the fiscal challenges, I assume, are still ongoing. Trying to do a lot on not quite what we want funded at the funding level we want. When I served for the 8 years, I was part of onboarding, if you want to say, a bond measure as well as a parcel tax. And I also ran, not the most recent one that I co-chaired, but before that, ran Measure G and passed it. So I'm very familiar with the bonds.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Cutwell.
Hi. What is the role of the board in working with the superintendent, the district employees, parents, students, and the community?
Well, I think the role of the board is to be leaders in the community and to help implement the values that our parents value and reflect the values in the community. I think we should be working collaboratively with administrators to try to find solutions and work together. And that was my experience when I was on the board, that it was a very collaborative atmosphere of working together.
Thank you very much. Mr. Klein, if you'll set the timer back. Mrs. Gaines, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
I think for closing remarks, just really repeat what I started out with, that I've put in this application today, again, because historically, this has worked well for the district to approve a previous board member. I think I can jump in and be valuable right away. I understand the budget, I understand the bonds, and I have in the past been approved by the voters. I do want to say that I trust that whatever decision you do make today will be in the best interest of the district. I will respect that, and thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Mrs. Gaines, you are welcome to stay in the boardroom as we continue on. Let's bring in Mrs. Kowalski, please, or Ms. Kowalski.
Who's vibrating?
Good evening or afternoon, Ms. Kowalski. Welcome to the podium. The timer is set for 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Great, sounds good. Y'all know me. I've been around. I ran twice, as you know, once in 2018 and 2020. Put up a good showing against every single one of you. I narrowly lost most recently in 2020. And, you know, I'm a parent in the district. I participated in the PFA, Measure V campaign. I've spoken to the teachers about inclusion in our district. I earned the LVEA endorsement at one point in 2020. And, you know, Kate and I agreed on quite a few things. And I'd like to continue her legacy on the board. It is a rare opportunity that a person from our region, Castle Peak, and Bell Canyon gets representation on the board, and we get an opportunity to get representation in so many ways by my appearance on the board. You have an opportunity to make history today, appointing the first Black woman to your school board. So yeah, I hope that you consider me, and I'd love to hear your questions.
Thank you. We're going to start with Mr. Lawrence for the first question.
You kind of addressed it, but maybe expand upon a little bit. Why are you interested in joining the board at this time?
Yeah, I ran a pretty robust campaign about those things. I'm really interested in bringing a different lens to this board that really hasn't been heard from before. I'm a mom, I'm a Marine, I have a law degree, I am a lot of things. I'm active in my Jewish community nationwide. I bring a very different lived experience to the school district and the school board that hasn't quite been represented before. I am interested in creating a school environment that is inclusive of all people, regardless of background. And I think I would be a great addition to this board.
Thank you very much. We're going to reset the timer for 2 minutes. And the next question is, articulate 2 things you value or respect about LVUSD and 2 areas where, as a new board member, you would work to improve or advance or add during the next 2 years.
Great. One of the things that I really value about the school district is the parents and the participation. We have so many, we have like an embarrassment of riches with the humans that are in this school district. And it's very exciting to utilize those lived experiences of all people and what they can contribute. So that's one thing I really admire about it. I think another thing that I really admire about the school district is this is still a destination school district where people want to come. So, I mean, I was one of them. I moved here specifically for the school district. And I think that's wonderful. One of the things I'd like to improve about it is, you know, my son just recently had a really tough experience at Agora Hills. And it's documented. We had to switch him to Calabasas High due to some racism that he experienced there. And I've talked to some parents who have experienced the same things with their children, and I want to improve that. Ryan Gleason, I've had an opportunity to work with him, and I know that the work that you've been doing so far in terms of inclusion has been wonderful, but I'd like to help with that. I'd also like to help the students who aren't necessarily heard, some of our marginalized populations, the people who are really struggling and were struggling before COVID and now are struggling post-COVID. Those are the really pressing issues for me that I would like to lend my voice to.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Cupbill?
Hi. Can you share with us what you know about the district's budget and fiscal challenges, including our bond and parcel tax programs?
Yeah, I have to tell you, numbers are not my jam, but I know that budgets are values, and where we put our money, that's where we're going to make the greatest impact. I know that we just recently had a bond that passed, and I hope that we can utilize the funds for the school improvements that we so desperately need. I mean, I can't imagine what's leaking right now. I mean, right? We aren't ready for that. Yeah, we're not used to this weather. So yeah, I would love to see, what the numbers are, open the books, and really get to know and understand what our budget is so that we can translate those into our values.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Mingus?
Hi, Ms. Kowalski. What is the role of the board in working with the superintendent, district employees, parents, and students, and the community?
Yeah. The board district sets the tone. We set the tone and the policies of the school district, and we, along with the only person we hire, work with the superintendent to implement the tone and the policies that we set as a body. I think it's really important that board members don't act alone, right? There's 5 of us, and currently 4, and we have to act as a body. I also think we need to make sure that the community's values and the community's needs are taken into account when we create policies that impact everyone. So it wouldn't be my job as a board member to independently solve problems on a school campus or address school problems, but it would be my job to work with all of you in front of everyone to ensure that we get our values and needs met for all of the community.
Thank you very much. And at this time, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Yeah, I think I've said everything I needed to say. I have to say, I'm still just excited today as I was 4 years ago when I ran to serve on the school board. I think I lend a different voice that has not been heard, and I would love to contribute that to the board. And I appreciate y'all, and I like this transparent method of selecting a person, and I want to carry on Kate's legacy for Castle Peak and Bell Canyon, and thank you.
Thank you very much. You are welcome to stay in the boardroom. And at this point, we'll bring in Mr. Kaiser. Hello again, Mr. Kaiser. Welcome to the podium.
Thank you.
You have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Well, hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. What I first wanted to say was I had thought of running for Board of Education member several times. After I retired, I worked, as you know, for the district in a variety of capacities, so I couldn't run. And then when I thought about running again, COVID hit. And so that was that. And then when I saw a doctor was running, I thought that would be a good thing for the district in terms of that. You all know my background. I think as an administrator, a parent, someone who knows this district inside and out, and someone who is currently a leadership coach working with other administrators to get their credential, I bring some unique talents and skills, and I think it would be very interesting and to have me as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to start with the questions. You have 2 minutes to answer each question. And I go first. So please tell us why you're interested in joining this board at this time.
I love this district. I've been a part of this district since I moved to California, really, as a teacher, as an assistant principal, as a principal, and as a district administrator. And I think that I can bring a new perspective, but I think we're at the crossroads in many ways, politically at the crossroads. There's a new importance for school board members across the United States. And I also think that there is a great challenge with dropping enrollment, and that we need to find ways to booster that. So I would just love to be a part on the other side of this wonderful district.
Thank you. Mrs. Cupbill.
Hi, Ron, how are you? Can you share with us two things that you value or respect about the district, and perhaps two things you think we could improve or work on?
I think repeat the question, please.
Two things, first part, two things you like or respect about the district now.
I think it's size. To have smallness, you have the ability to create a single vision. If you take a sprawling district like LA Unified, how can you have one vision with so many people? The other thing is parents are free to interact with board members, with teachers. And I think we are a destination district in many ways. And so we can get some of the best teachers, best administrators, and a wonderful school community. I think, as I said before, I think decreasing enrollment is something that we really have to look at and find ways to market, to ensure that community members and members outside the community understand individual programs in individual schools, not necessarily achievements and awards, but what's happening in the school now that would make a parent want to leave, for example, a private school and come to this district.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Menges.
So, Mr. Kaiser, what do you know about LVUSD's budget and fiscal challenges, including bond parcel tax programs?
Well, finance is always a problem with a challenge with suburban school districts. We get very little funding, and so we've passed the bond measure recently, which is a really good thing. And we have to look toward parent groups for additional money in schools and to set aside different programs. We receive very little in Title I funds and other funds like that. So we're always trying to find ways to find new aspects of revenue.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you. Can you share, in your opinion, what the role of the board is in working with the superintendent, the district employees, parents, students, and the community at large?
Wow.
There's a lot there.
The board basically, well, it's a governing body, so it oversees the entire operation of the district. It needs to ensure that the district is financially solvent. It needs to be a sounding board. What's interesting is, in working with the superintendent is is part board and part management, in the sense of that one of the questions you had in the application was dealing with parent concerns. You can work with the superintendent because the superintendent can look at policy as well as procedure. The board basically deals with policy, although they can get into the weeds in terms of hiring and all of the rest, but they need to respect procedures, and that's what cabinet and the teachers are involved with.
Thank you very much. And now you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, my closing statement will be similar to my opening statement in the sense that I have a particular skill set. I know what makes schools excellent. I ran a school that was excellent, that really was a jewel in the community. Right now, in working with new administrators, I think I can bring a dimension to the board that you haven't had before. Many of you know me. I want to be a part of the board to ensure and to share ideas for continuing excellence in the district. I would like to do, and I hope this number is right, I would like to do for 11,000 what I did for 1,400 at a school site. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
And thank you. And you're welcome to have a seat in the boardroom
Thank you.
as we continue. Mr. Zink, please. No. Hello, Mr. Zink. Welcome to the podium. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay. Well, first off, I want to say thank you for having me here as an applicant for this unfortunate vacancy in the board. You probably don't know me as well as some of the other applicants. However, I do want you to know, I can say confidently that my decisions throughout my life have been dedicated towards public service. And my decisions moving forward would be orientated towards that goal of serving the public. And at many of those occasions, I've worked with youth or young adults. So I'm not familiar, I am very familiar with young people striving to improve their lives. And I believe I can, my unique background as a public servant, I think could give you as a board a fresh perspective from various experiences. And from that fresh perspective, I believe I might be able to offer some innovative ideas. And the reason I say that is because in any organization I choose to be a participant or a visionary or a leader in, I always seek to improve that organization. And I have a saying with my sons who both attended here at Agora, if you're not improving, you're failing. So I do believe that's sort of like something you strive to do no matter what you undertake. And then lastly, I'm here because I believe in civic virtue, and I'm at a stage in my life now where I've been a product of the public school education system, and I'm grateful to have gone to a great public school, not here in Las Virgenes, but in Michigan. And so I feel it's my time to give something back. And so give you a little bit more about myself and kind of why I'm here before you. Is I come from a family of educators. My mother has a doctorate in education from USC and taught at the collegiate level. My father's got a master's. And I have a bachelor's out of USC, I have a Juris Doctorate out of Loyola, and I have a master's from the U.S. Army War College in Strategic Studies. I already mentioned my high school experience. I was very active in high school, worked with the board there in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan.
Mr. Zink, you're out of time
Oh, that's it then.
on that
Okay,
one.
that's fine.
Okay, we're going to move right ahead to questions. Mrs. Cutbill?
Hi, thank you. You also have 2 minutes for each. I'm sure you know
okay.
that. Yeah. Tell us why you're interested in joining this board at this time.
I'm interested in joining this board at this time because obviously the vacancy that was published. I have retired from the Marine Corps. I retired as a colonel, which was a fairly demanding obligation as a reserve Marine Corps colonel down at Camp Pendleton, so I have more time I can devote to serving on the board. And I believe strongly in public education. I think it's a real indicator as to what direction we're going in this community as to how strong our public education system is. So that's why I choose to serve.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Mangus?
Mr. Zink, articulate 2 things you value or respect about LVUSD and 2 areas where, as a new board member, you would work to improve or advance or add during the next 2 years.
2 things I value is I do value the teachers. I think I've had great experience with my kids going through the school district, and I think teachers are essential because they're the touch point between the district and the students. And I think they've done a very good job hiring teachers and keeping them passionate about teaching. Another thing I'm impressed with at this district is the, I guess, the parental involvement, because I think the district probably might not be where it is today if it didn't have heavy and very active parental involvement. A couple of areas I'd like to focus on moving forward is obviously the education system as a whole across the nation is under a lot of scrutiny. It's in the news a lot. I believe this district has weathered those storms remarkably well, and I'd like to continue to go down that path and set an example, hopefully for other districts. And then I know you've overcome the resource deficiencies, and I would look forward to applying that money in a effective manner.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lawrence?
Thanks. Building from that last comment, can you share what you know about LVUSD's budget and fiscal challenges, including any insights into our bond and parcel tax?
I can't speak specifically. That would be, I'm here obviously with an outside perspective, but I am a quick learner, and I believe I'd hopefully be able to get up to speed quickly on those issues and apply them effectively.
Thank you.
And finally, what is the role of the board in working with the superintendent, district employees, parents, students, and the community at large?
Well, I think the board offers a vision for the district. It's obviously in a leadership role. And I think those ideas not only come solely from the board itself, because they don't necessarily possess all the best ideas, but they look for those ideas that are coming within their district, and they bring them up to the board level. They also might look outside the district to other successful districts out there and ideas that they have used. And then lastly, to provide the necessary resources to ensure that those goals are met.
Thank you very much. At this point, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
I guess I'll just pick up where I started, and that is a little bit about myself. Again, throughout my public service, I've worked with young adults, and I feel I have a sense of what motivates young adults to reach their highest potential. And I strongly believe that the public education system has an obligation, almost a moral obligation, to the youths in this community to prepare them for a future that's going to be far more dynamic than probably what we've experienced in their same shoes. And we need to prepare them not only to be able to be productive members in our communities and to be good citizens and have a sense of civic virtue to give back to their communities, but also to ensure that they set an example, really, for their fellow adults when they leave the school district based on what they learned here. and not only the education that they learn, but also the values they have moving forward in their life, which could come from the school district.
Thank you very much. You
Thank
can
you.
have a seat in the boardroom. At this time, the board will deliberate and see where we go. I'm actually going to start by thanking you all. You all are tremendous supporters of our school district. Many of you, most of you, I know. I have worked with you. I've ran against you. And I've learned from most of you, and I've enjoyed our time together. So for me, this is an extremely difficult process. But I deeply respect you and your commitment to excellence in education for all of our students. At this point, if it's okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Cutbill. Are you ready to say something, Mrs. Cutbill?
Do you want me to cast a vote, discuss my thinking?
Discuss your thinking.
My thinking is, first of all, thank you to all of you. You're terrific. I could, in good conscience, select any of you, and I know you would serve well. And the other thing I would, excuse me, say to you is, you know, 4 of you we will not pick. Please don't be discouraged. We're going to blink, and it will be time for an election. So if you leave here today and we didn't appoint you, I mean, we're talking the filing period for that next election is in
around the corner.
18 months, right? Like, you know, like you should probably be getting things, you know, in order in 14, 15 months, right? So, so please, please, please don't go away discouraged. Stay. We need your input. We need your ideas. We need your support. So that is one thing. I will say, in this situation, while we did choose to appoint, ideally, for me, voters choose board members. And so I'm driven by that even though we are in this position. So do you want me to, like, cast a vote, or do you want me to just say my thinking?
Say your thinking, and then we're going to move on to Mrs.
Okay.
Mangus next.
That's
and then
really
I'll
a
call
lot
for a motion.
driving me. Also, the fact that I feel like we're sort of just stepping into the river of a successful bond measure. It's $340 million, and while it's an amazing thing and we passed it, of course, it's not enough money, as we noted. When we had a recent meeting with our bond construction managers, what I realized in that meeting, which lasted hours and hours, and it's exciting work to do, but no one from the district or the board in that meeting, we all had experience in closing out a bond. Nobody had experience in launching a bond, which is quite a different thing from talking to the managers, the firms, the attorneys. So for me, that's another big driver of what we need to do at this time.
Okay. Mrs. Mangus, what is your thinking at this
So I will probably be reiterating a lot of the same things that Ms. Cutbill said. I do appreciate all of you coming in and being interviewed, because you can feel the love that you have for the district. And I think that's a huge driving force for anybody running for school board. And in a perfect world, I would prefer for the voters to elect a person rather than appoint. But unfortunately, we're in the position that the most fiscally responsible view for our board was to go ahead and appoint. And I do want to encourage you, if you are not selected tonight, to please consider running for the board, because I think all of you had very important points that you brought and perspectives that you could apply to this board. I'm probably the newest member on this board, and I am surprised at the learning curve involved with sitting on a board. I was very involved with the schools while my kids were growing up, and thought that this would be an extension of my involvement at the school level, and it's it's very challenging. And if you haven't been on a board, you don't really realize that. And I think that my feeling is that that because we have so much going on, we've got the bond that was just recently passed. I've described it to groups that it's that duck swimming on the pond. You think nothing's going on, but they're furiously working their legs under the water, getting things onboarded and stuff. And I think a more experienced person being on the board would probably be the most helpful at this point because, as Ms. Cupbill said, we've had experience with closing out a bond, but none of us have had experience with onboarding a bond.
Thank you. And Mr. Lawrence?
First, I want to start by thanking Ms. Stein and Ms. Cupbill for running a very transparent, smooth, and efficient process under what I think were extraordinary circumstances. In a normal situation, roll in the fact that we had to deal with also the sadness of a deceased member, and then roll in the holiday time season over it. So thank you for the two of you for the time you put in over the last couple weeks, and for, again, committing to and following through on a very transparent and I think smooth process for everybody. Also want to thank everybody who came here today. I have endorsed two of you in the past. I've run against one of you. I've served with one of you. I've worked with one of you, and I've had the opportunity to get to know one of you over the last couple of years. So you're all a known commodity, and I would agree with everyone here that I think if you don't get selected, I would be very comfortable sitting next to left or right or any one of you on this dais in the future. So thank you for coming forward and putting forth your time. As I was reading the applications over the weekend, I really landed on four key principles for me for appointing this position. And I'm going to share them because I think it's important for all of us to kind of share where our frame of reference is. I think the first is going to be very familiar with the other two. All things being equal, I am very uncomfortable voting to fill a vacancy and not letting the voters do it. I would have preferred to have a special election. I would have preferred this to be a chance for the voters to vote. All things are not equal. I do not believe that desire of mine to have the voters have a choice is actually outweighed by my desire to be a good overseer of our public funds. And paying $1.5 million directly out of our funds that could be funding music, arts, class size reductions, counseling, just did not make sense at this time. So I've made peace with that decision, but I think loud and clear, I think this whole board would rather have this been filled by an election. My second principle really is to fill the seat with someone who I believe the voters would have chosen, which doesn't necessarily mean it's my first choice or my second choice. It means that, in this case, it is my first choice both ways. But I think that it was really important to take off my frame of reference and say, who would the voters have picked? Because that's what we're doing. We are a placeholder for the voters' selection. So that was really important to me. My third was to find someone who I thought could hit the ground running, which I think is important. And I think, frankly, all of you could probably hit the ground running and feed in pretty quickly and be fast learners. But also someone who's a consensus builder. I think we heard a little bit today about the challenges in education, about the divisiveness in politics, about how tough the last 2 years have been. And I think if we're honest, it's been tough being on the school board. We haven't always agreed. And I think it's been, we've done a very good job of finding our way to the light moving forward. But I really wanted to make sure whoever we welcomed onto the board at this time really embodies that spirit of collaborative debate and collegiality, but also has the ability to move us forward. And lastly for me, and probably honestly one of the most important, because it ties back to the first principle that I'm just very uncomfortable about selecting this role in place of the voters, is I want someone that's not running again in 2 years. I want this seat to be open and free of an incumbent in 2 years so the voters have a free and clear shot and candidates have a free and clear shot at putting their name in without any power of incumbency being imposed upon them. So it's obvious who I'm supporting today. I will be supporting Jill Gaines. I think I have been blessed in my first 2 years to have served with her as a mentor. I think she embodies the ideal elected official and that she is welcome to push back on the administration when they need to, but also has a deft hand at pushing back at a board member who may want to go into the ditch sometimes on comments and thoughts they shouldn't go into, probably speaking about myself more than others this board meeting. I greatly valued her her last 2 years and my first 2 years in this board. I think about it often. And honestly, for me as a board member, if there was any silver lining to be found in a terrible moment like this, it was the ability to serve with her again when we were going into a very different and uncharted territory for all of us board members. So I concluded that by saying I was incredibly impressed by the caliber of folks who came forward. I would happily vote for any of you on a ballot if it came forward. I will probably be endorsing some of you at some point. But for me at this point in time, because of those kind of principles, Ms. Gaines was the candidate for me.
Thank you very much. And then I want to carry over that theme. And again, thank you all for applying. This is a very difficult decision. Again, like we've all said, we know most of you, we've worked with most of you. It would be an honor to serve from what we heard today, what we've read in your applications. It would be an honor for me to serve with all of you. And again, I've learned from each one of you of the ones that I do know. But at this point, and hearing, from my colleagues as well, I really believe in my heart that the voters choose the elected officials. This is a tough decision. We're elected to make tough decisions. We don't shy away from tough decisions, but we've never been put in this place. And between, a school board member who passed away, which people leave for various reasons, they move or whatever, we're still coming out of COVID. We still have, as you heard, some academics challenges, some enrollment, some budget challenges. I'm looking for somebody who can really hit the ground running, who is, like Mr. Lawrence said, a consensus builder, who has the history of working with bonds. We do have $340 million worth of bonds that, thank goodness, the voters approved to really help our schools, our students, our staff. But that's almost a quarter of $1 billion, something like that, a third of $1 billion. And clearly we need help. Clearly. And so clearly we need help. So again, impressed with all of you. And so saying that, I'm going to also agree and lend my support to Mrs. Gaines as well.
So do you want to make a motion? Do you
Anybody?
want
Yes,
to vote?
please. I'd love a motion.
I would move to approve Jill Gaines for the board vacancy position.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of Mrs. Gaines filling the board vacancy?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Mrs. Gaines, will you please come to the podium, and Dr. Stepanowski will swear you in. And again, thank you all. Stay engaged, stay involved. We'll see you in 2 years.
Less, way less. Less than 2 years.
Less than 2 years.
Really?
I have a copy for you if you'd like. Does that help you out? I would not need that. Do we need Miss Gaines' microphone?
No,
That would be nice.
that's fine.
Do you have
Well-
a mic, Jim?
We can share the microphone like a duet.
Why don't you
Like you're,
take
like
that
you're
one.
singing a duet.
He sounds sick. I don't want to share a mic with him.
No, do not.
Where are you going?
All right. We'll go slow.
We'll go
Take our
slow.
time. Raise your right
Got
hand.
to get to the state your name. That's the tough part. Go ahead.
I state your name.
I, Jill Gaines,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United
to
States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this oath, that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Ms. Gaines.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gaines, will you please come and introduce yourself to Justin, our student board rep? Justin, you will show Mrs. Gaines the ropes, not that she needs them. No, we're not, oh no, we're not adjourning. We have something else to do. Sorry. Mrs. Gaines, please come and take your seat, and welcome to the dais, to the dining room. With this, we are not going to adjourn, actually. We don't officially adjourn, if I recall. Let me look here. Wait, one second. But we are going to adjourn to closed session in a few minutes. Before we close, I want to know, do we have a speaker for an item on closed session?
Dr. Savers, I believe we do.
We do, yes. Mr. Ruelas is here.
Mr. Ruelas, if you are welcome to come to the podium, please, and you may have 3 minutes to speak to the board. The board will not respond to you. We will go into closed session where this matter will be taken up.
Did I have an interpreter or?
Madam President, a staff member has requested a translator to join.
Okay, do we have a translator?
We certainly do.
Thank you.
You got it.
Who is our translator? Ms. Chambers? Oh,
She's been outside, yeah.
okay. Mr. Seifries, once we get the translator in here, Mr. Seifries will read the charges to be heard against the employee, and then after Mr. Seifries reads those, the employee will have 3 minutes to respond. Mm-hmm.
Hola, ¿cómo está? Buenas tardes.
He has to say all of this. Okay, do we need a microphone for the interpreter? Okay, 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah.
Is that where Mr. Klein went? I'm so confused. Okay. Here he comes. Here comes Mr. Klein.
Let's get in the wireless. She can sit down here if she wants.
Okay, first we're going to hear from Mr. Seifris.
Madam President, the district has notified Mr. Ruelas with 4 separate charges. They are as follows: falsifying information supplied to the school district, dishonesty, violation of district board or departmental policy or procedure, and failure to exhibit professional behavior during or outside of duty hours, which is of such nature that it causes discredit to the district and or his or her employment. There are various acts and omissions that we have notified Mr. Ruelas of. They involve falsifying information on 3 separate classified extra hours time reports. These reports indicated dates of September 1st, 2nd, 6th, 7th, 9th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. The range of dishonest reporting within these 9 instances was anywhere from 25 minutes to 241 minutes on those specific days. On December 5th, 2022, the employee met with myself and Ms. Chambers regarding his conduct. During the meeting, the employee was directed to be honest. The employee denied recording overtime hours for times when he was not present at work. The employee's assertions in that meeting were unfortunately dishonest. On December 9th, 2022, the employee met with me and Ms. Chambers again regarding his overtime hours. During the meeting, he was again directed to be honest with the district. During the meeting, I asked the employee if he had falsified his overtime hours. Initially, the employee denied any wrongdoing and false reporting. However, later in the interview, after he was informed that we have video evidence of him departing at times that he said that he was on the campus, he admitted that he had indeed falsified his overtime hours. So according to our BP 4119.21 professional standards, this does require that employees maintain the highest ethical standards, and according to governing board policy 4319.21, The Code of Ethics of Management, Supervisory, and Confidential Employees requires all management level employees to conform to an ethical code. Therefore, that outlines the charges pending against Mr. Ruelas.
Thank you, Dr. Cyphers. The employee will now have an opportunity to respond to the charges. Mr. Ruelas, would you like to be heard? You have 3 minutes to respond.
Gracias por permitirme hablar en mi nombre con el respecto.
Could we, excuse me 1 second.
I think Ms. Dunca should translate.
Oh, do you
what-
want to translate all of that to him?
Yes, I can go ahead and do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should maybe give
Oh, yeah. No, we're not timing the translation. Right.
Le voy a traducir la información que dio Dr. Cyphers. El empleado es acusado de falsificar cualquier información suministrada al distrito escolar, deshonestidad, violación de la regla, política o procedimiento del distrito, de la junta o del departamento y cualquier otra falta de buen comportamiento, y sea durante o fuera de las horas de servicio, que sea de tal naturaleza de desacredite al distrito o a su empleado. So, los actos y omisiones sobre lo que se plantean estas alegaciones son: número 1, el 6 de octubre de 2022, el empleado presentó 3 documentos del informe mensual de horas extras clasificadas, en los que afirmó haber trabajado 20 horas extras. No trabajó las horas extras reportadas, específicamente afirmó falsamente trabajar las siguientes veces. Fue en el agosto 31 de 2022, 1 de septiembre de 2022, el 6, 7 y 9 de 2022, el 12, 13, 14 y 15 de 2022, entre 15 horas. What was the maximum hours? It was between 15 and
241.
y 241 horas. El 15 de diciembre de 2022, el empleado se reunió con el Dr. Cyphers y Hallie Chambers con respecto a su conducta. Durante la reunión, se le indicó al empleado que fuera honesto. El empleado negó haber registrado horas extras en los momentos en que no estaba presente en el trabajo. Las afirmaciones del empleado fueron deshonestas. El 9 de diciembre de 2022, el empleado se reunió nuevamente con el Dr. Cyphers y la señora Chambers con respecto a sus horas extras. Durante la reunión, nuevamente se le indicó que fuera honesto con el distrito. Durante la reunión, el Dr. Cyphers le preguntó al empleado si había falsificado sus horas extras. Inicialmente, el empleado negó cualquier irregularidad y denunció falsa. Sin embargo, más adelante a la entrevista, después de que le informaron al empleado que teníamos evidencia de video, admitió que se fue temprano del trabajo. La política de la Junta del Gobierno 4119.21 estándares profesionales requieren que los empleados mantengan los más altos estándares éticos. En comportamiento inapropiado incluye deshonestidad, incluida la falsificación de información en el empleo o otros registros escolares. La política de la Junta de Gobierno 4319.21, normas profesionales, código de ética de los empleados administrativos, supervisores o confidenciales, requieren que todos los empleados del nivel gerencial se ajusten a un código ético. Los empleados de la dirección tienen una responsabilidad en su puesto, lo que exige normas de conducta profesional ejemplar. Se espera que los empleados de la gerencia gerencia cumplan con sus responsabilidades profesionales con honestidad y integridad. Esos son los cargos pendientes contra el empleado.
Thank you. Mr. Rulas, you have 3 minutes, and then we'll have your interpreter interpret what you say. Okay, okay.
Señor Rules, si usted gustaría ser escuchado, tendrá 3 minutos para responder. Tendrá en cuenta que la Junta escuchará sus respuestas y luego reunirá en sesión cerrada para deliberar y tomar una decisión.
And if you'd like to interpret along the way,
Okay.
okay.
Si puede hablar un poco y luego dejarme traducir y ahí seguiremos.
Sí. Gracias por permitirme hablar en mi nombre con respecto a las acusaciones presentadas en mi contra.
So thank you for letting me speak today in the matter that is brought forth today and to respond in his name.
Me gustaría aceptar el hecho de que reconozco que el registro del tiempo de mis horas, de mis tarjetas de tiempo, no fueron exactas.
He'd like to inform that he accepts that the information that he provided on the timesheets was not exact.
Pero nunca fue con la intención de ser deshonesto ni de robar horas.
But it was never the intention to be dishonest or steal hours.
Desafortunadamente fue difícil para mí recordar la precisión de mis horas al entregar mi hoja de horas extras.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to recall the exact hours worked and reporting on my timesheet
Una vez al mes.
once a month.
Olvidé los días que tenía que salir temprano para mis citas con el dentista y cualquier cambio de última hora en mi horario de trabajo.
He failed to recall the days that he left early from work for dental appointments and when there were changes to his schedule.
Aún así, todas las horas que he anotado están contabilizadas y siempre he sido honesto acerca de mi trabajo durante los 28 años que he sido empleado del distrito.
So within the past 28 years that he has worked with the district, he has, perdón, ¿me puede repetir una vez más?
Sí. Siempre he sido honesto acerca de mi trabajo durante los 28 años que he sido empleado del distrito.
He has always been honest in the 28 years that he worked with the district.
No creo que terminar mi empleo con acusaciones que estaba robando horas es justo.
He doesn't feel that it's just that he is ending his employment with the accusation of being dishonest.
Si las horas de mi hoja de tiempo no fueron precisas, creo que una notificación por escrito o una acción disciplinaria para corregir mis horas habría sido lo más justo en mi caso.
Okay, he believes in his case that after having reported incorrect hours on his timesheet, he feels that written warning or an opportunity to correct the information would have been just.
Y no fueron 241 horas.
And he said it wasn't
Eso está
241
mal.
hours.
Las horas que tengo aquí. Como el septiembre 2, que puse las horas, septiembre 2 fue el viernes y yo regresé el sábado a hacer el trabajo de las 4 horas porque tenía la cita.
So on the date of September 2nd, 2022, the 4 hours that he reported as worked, He said the following day on a Saturday, he worked those hours.
Yes.
Okay, is that it? The
Tiene-
board can ask any questions. We cannot deliberate here, and we will go into closed session and deliberate. And no, the board can.
And it's early, and I still would like to be a public speaker. The sign outside said 5:30. I was actually early before the closed session. It said the closed session is supposed to start.
Okay, if you can fill out a speaker card, and we'll get to you in just a minute. But
Señor Ruales, ¿hay algún otro comentario público para la agenda de la sesión cerrada?
No
yes,
tengo,
this is on closed.
tengo
We're going to do it. We're
dos
gonna
de
do
la
it. We
del
can't legally
dentista.
do it. We're going to do it.
He doesn't have any other further comments, but he did provide two appointment verifications for his dental appointments.
Okay, thank you. In just a few minutes, we're going to go in and deliberate under closed session. This is what we do with employment matters, because every employee is entitled to privacy by law. And then we will come out and start our regular meeting, 6 o'clock. And that point, the board will be voting in closed session on this and reporting out. So if you want to stick around, if he wants to stick around, or someone can let him know how the board votes on this matter.
Okay.
Okay?
A las 6 van a empezar la sesión cerrada para
No, we're gonna-
para hablar sobre la tema del empleado y después de que termine la sesión cerrada, entonces ellos van a votar y van a darle la información de lo que se...
¿Me puedo
So-
retirar?
Sí se puede retirar, si gusta, no tiene que esperar. Okay. He just asked if he's free to leave.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Thank you so
Muchas
much.
gracias. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias. Okay.
Okay,
de
and
nada.
at this point, we do have a speaker. We're going to take Mr. Hull at this point. Mr. Hull, you have 3 minutes to speak. And at the end of 3 minutes, we're going to cut the mic.
So 5:32 and 30 seconds. Okay.
Look, there's a timer, Mr. Hull, there's a timer right there that lets you know that when your 3 minutes is up.
Perfect. I'm here to address the issue of administration, accountability, and credibility. Okay, since my son's been in this school district, he was denied his civil right. He was kicked out of the school based on a fabricated story made by Brian Gleason in his sophomore year of high school. Interesting that we just judged this man on a video, but when I presented a video to the district that completely discredited Ryan's story and statements, it was ignored. Since then, Mr. Cyphers has written a completely fabricated statement based on false statements from C.J. Dalen, Cornell Uzaki, Stephanie McClay, and all of them lied on the stand in court. The minutes of the court in the Van Nuys courthouse can prove it. Stephanie McClay went on the stand and stated that the security system for the school district was installed specifically because of me on that date. But the board yourselves, you guys sent out a notice when the money was awarded to you for it, and what a wonderful thing it was, and you guys actually sent out information to the community about the date that those locks were going to be installed. But when it was convenient for your case in court, you said it was because of me. Everything that they said in that courtroom was fabricated and a lie. The school district spent about $25,000 fighting me in court for workplace violence, and I don't even work here. Your coach, C.J. Dalen, threatened me with violence after I called the fire department to have a water polo tournament stopped because kids' faces and eyes were being burned. The fire department did stop it, and this school district said, including Mr. Cyphers, wrote down that they were notified by the Conejo Valley Unified School District that I wasn't to be there, that I caused a problem, that I was asked to leave, all this stuff. I went to the Conejo Valley Unified School District and met with the athletics director, and none of it was true. Cornell was released, I believe. They wanted information from me about the event, and all of the statements you guys made were false. I've contacted the board several times in the past. Not one of you has picked up the phone and called me back. You guys are yes people. You vote yes on everything. I can't see the last time somebody voted a no. You guys spend money like crazy.
You guys all make way too much money, and our kids can't even have school buses to go to athletic events. That's an equity issue. Kids quit the sports when their parents can't afford to take them to the games or take off of work to get them there. But you guys can approve raises and make several $100,000 apiece. And just last weekend alone, at our school, when we had that event, and you drive by, all the other schools had buses there getting their kids there. The school district wastes money. They asked for $25,000 from me when you made false allegations, but you couldn't pay the $2,200 that I spent in court when you lost.
Thank you, Mr. Hull. With that, we're going to adjourn to closed session. So welcome back to the regular session of January 17th, 2023. I have a report out of closed session. The board approved the release of employee number DQ5463074 in a vote of 4-0. And with that, I need a motion to approve the minutes. And I'm going to ask for two separate motions because our students were not in attendance at the second meeting that were.
I move we approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of December 13th.
May I have a
I'll second.
Perfect. And I'm going to have one abstention as well. So all those in favor, student?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Aye. Abstention?
I think so.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and welcome, Mrs. Gaines, to the school board. We appreciate you coming back and joining us again.
My pleasure.
Now may I have a motion to approve the special board meeting minutes of December 21st, 2022?
I move to approve the 12/21 special board meeting minutes.
Second.
Terrific. This is a board vote only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Terrific. Any abstentions?
One abstention.
Thank you very much. Okay, staff board communication, Dr. Stepanowski.
Madam President, members of the board, I think we have some really cool people we want to celebrate today. I think we have 3 phenomenal, outstanding employees, and then some of our phenomenal parent leaders as well. So I'll see you at the podium with Dr. Seifries.
Go this way. Madam President, members of the board, we get a bonus Employee of the Month recognition tonight. So we actually will be recognizing 3 folks. Our classified Employee of the Month from last month is joining us. So each month, the district puts together our Employee Month of the board with the criteria of recognizing folks who exhibit our core dispositions, such as perseverance, cultivating a collaborative community, and doing the best, absolute best that they can for our students and staff. The 3 folks that we have here tonight really represent all the different diverse things that make the school district such a special place to be. We have an employee who helps support students and staff with technology. We have an employee who helps support students actually find a job outside of high school in the workforce. And we have a phenomenal classroom teacher who helps get students ready for that workforce. So to introduce our classified Employee of the Month from last month, I'll have Jim Klein come to the podium to talk about Maureen McDonald.
All right, Maureen, come on down. Madam President, members of the board, I have the unique pleasure of working with an incredibly talented team for the last 10 years, and Maureen McDonald is one of the most recent additions to my team. She is one of the more brilliant thinkers I've ever had the opportunity to think with, and the more creative minds I've ever had the opportunity to create with. She is one of those rare Employee of the Month nominees where you just mention her name and everybody says, oh yeah, why not? She should be the Employee of the Month. So Maureen, we're very proud of you. Congratulations on the nomination for being Employee of the Month, and I can't wait to see what you do in the coming years.
Good thing I have my glasses on, I can see. Maureen, as you can see from the love in the room, everyone loves you. You are there to help everyone. TK through 5, and your smile and your warmth and your kindness and your brilliance. are so appreciated. So on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to honor you with this apple. Would you like to say a few words? And congratulations, and introduce your family.
Thank you. So first, I want to thank the board and Dr. Stepanovsky and the cabinet and Jim for this unexpected recognition. My family's here. Well, two of my two kids are here. I'll try to keep this really brief, but it's really hard because I get to work with everyone in the district from TK through 12. I work with students and staff and teachers and administrators, and I just think I have the best job in the world. I'm been with LVUSD since I was a student at Lindero. So, you know, I came back. This is a great environment. The teachers, the staff are just so caring. And I came back to work in LVUSD in 2014. I started at an elementary school, and then I came to the district office a few years ago in educational technology. I think we have the best team. It's filled with amazing network technicians who do so many things behind the scenes you wouldn't even know about. We have great systems administrator. We have Debbie, the most amazing person who gets everything done in our office, and Carolyn as well. And Tina Johnson is our coordinator of libraries, and she is just the best to work with. We get to work on so many creative projects. And then we have our media coordinators I get to work with in all of our libraries, which are, I think, the best places in all of our schools. The heart of the schools are the libraries, and they're all so unique, but what they all have is warmth, and they're a really great safe space for students to congregate and learn and create. So I am just consider myself so lucky to have this exciting, fulfilling job in LVUSD, and I will, you know, keep enjoying it, keep working hard, and I really appreciate this recognition. Thank you.
And for our classified employee of the month for this month, I'll invite Ms. Falk to the podium to speak about Ms. Denise Edwards.
Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, I am honored tonight to recognize Denise Edwards as Classified Employee of the Month. Denise wears two hats in the district. She works with our transition program, which works with our special education students and preparing them for life beyond high school. She also is in charge of our workability grant, which provides work experience and work training for our more moderate to severe students. When you ask people to describe Denise, and I would certainly be one of those people, I would describe her as passionate, she's positive, she's a hard worker, and she's always willing to throw her hat in the ring to do whatever she is asked for. So tonight, I'm honored to recognize Denise Edwards as the Classified Employee of the Month.
Congratulations. And one of the common themes that you hear with these recognitions is relationships. These people are able, very special people, are able to build relationships with their students, with their families, with the outside business community. And if you have not visited the transition program, I have a few times. It is absolutely amazing what these children can and do is just absolutely amazing. So congratulations. And Michelle, I want to honor you and present you with this apple. Oh, Denise. It's been a very long evening already. Denise, sorry, Denise. Present you with this apple.
You know, I've been with the district for 10 years now, and I came from a banking background, I came from an insurance background, And I actually always wanted to work with special education, and the opportunity came. So I started out as 10-hour position. And what I love about our district, and I want to thank the board for this and for everything you do for us. We've been through quite a hard time the past several years. We were taken through smooth transition through everything. But I've just always appreciated how the district supports us in every way. And my boss, Angie Falk, Kristen Stein, and my wonderful team. I can't do this without Kim Cochran, Michelle Ramirez, and Tristan Dillon. They came on board after I came on board, and we just haven't stopped since then. We have 2 grants, our district. One grant's really sought after in the state, and they're not actually giving these grants out, and it's the Workability Grant. It's with the California Department of Education. Very special grant that we renew yearly, and then we have a grant with the Department of Rehabilitation. That's our transition partnership program. So our district is fortunate to have these, and I just look forward to working here many, many more years. So thank you so much.
And Madam President, we have a first. We have a school mascot here. We have Cooper the Cub. Cooper the Cub. To help, is Cooper coming up, or what do we got going on? Cooper the Cub is going to help Miss Principal Goldstein introduce our Certificate Employee of the Month, Michelle Costantino. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Dan Stepanowski, Board and Cabinet. Ms. Constantino has made a huge impact on the CUP community, from supporting teachers as a union rep to making every student feel their worth in her classroom. She is an inspiration to me, our students, and our community as a whole. I asked some of her current and former students to describe her, and here are some of the things they said. Mrs. Constantino encourages me and helped me find my love of reading. She is fair and seriously the funniest and most lovable teacher I've ever had. She is a fantastic teacher who encourages us to be our best selves. She believes in us and works hard for us. She always gives us second chances to prove ourselves. Mrs. Constantino just gets me. She gets all of us. She talks to us like we are really important. And lastly, Mrs. Constantino makes me always want to come to school on Mondays. It is my honor to celebrate and recognize this hilarious, dedicated, and incredible educator. But before we do that, we have 2 students that have something to dedicate to her.
Hi. I'm Lucy Fisher, and this is Morgan Love. And since 3rd grade, I had her as a teacher in 2nd grade and 3rd grade. And since 3rd grade, we have been working on a book for her. And we just finally finished it today, and we would very much like to give it to her.
Well, do we feel the love in this room or what? Mrs. Constantino, it's always fun to visit Chaparral and always fun to go visit your classroom. Thank you for being funny, and thank you for having your students just want to come back and say hi and see you and probably never want to leave your classroom, you know, looping all the way through high school, right? That's what they want you to do. So with that, I want to present you with this apple and congratulate you on everything you do to support students.
All right, very overwhelmed, so I did write a speech. Normally I kind of talk off the cuff, but I knew that this would. So first off, I would like to thank Dr. Stepanowski and the board for this recognition. It means a lot to me. It kind of means the world to me. I've been honored and privileged to be a member of the Chaparral staff campus for 26 years, teaching all the way 2nd through 5th grade, and I want to take this opportunity to give credit where it's truly deserved. So my Chaparral people, this is for you. Without each and every one of you, to everyone who's worked or is currently working on our campus, without each and every one of you, I would not be the educator that I am today. All of our administration, thanks, Nikki, teachers, paraprofessionals, IAs, campus supervisors, office staff, plant managers, specialists, media coordinators have been the most supportive and amazing people to work with over my past 2.5 decades in the district. I love math, so I just thought I'd put it in perspective. Without them, my success as an educator would have been limited, so thank you from the bottom of my heart to my Chaparral family. In addition, I would like to thank all of my past and current students and their families. I know this was not planned. And I'm so thankful to have watched you grow into incredible human beings. And then you inspire, encourage, and challenge me every single day in the classroom, and you guys are truly the reason why I do what I do. And then finally, I'd like to thank my family, my husband, Brian, for his constant support, and my daughter, Kim, who attended Chaparral, attended Stell, and will be graduating from CHS in a few months. So you two are my everything, and I am truly blessed, and I would not have sent Kim through the district, especially Chaparral, obviously, if I didn't truly believe in all of the wonderful educators there who molded her into a soon-to-be college student. So once again, thank you for this honor, and I'm very appreciative of it.
All right, with this much love in the room, we need a picture. So our 3 amazing employees of the month, come on up. We want and all of our students who are here, we want you in the picture also. So come on up, we want you in the front row. Board members, if you can come on down. Director Angie Falk, Director Jim Klein, and Principal Goldstein, come on down as well to be in the picture. So our 3 honorees in the middle, our students in front, and our board around and back and behind. Get those cameras out. Cooper, we need you in there too. You're definitely in there, Coop. Now, don't go anywhere. We have one more recognition, so one more second. Let's give it up for our Employees of the Month one more time. One more recognition, so if you can, don't go anywhere. We have amazing parent leaders who are a huge part of helping Measure S be successful. So we can have Amanda Pullis, Tara Maynard, Kristen Goldman, Susan McLean, Nicole Cullen, Stacy Radke, David Scheckman, and Adam MacArthur. Come on down now. Yeah. Oh, man. These are the guardian angels of Las Virgenes right here. So we had, back in 2020, we had a challenge. Something was on the ballot and didn't go amazing. So we thought about it in 2022. So I picked up the phone to this amazing woman I'd seen as a PFC president and done amazing things at music at Lindero Canyon. And I called Amanda and I said, Amanda, your district needs you. And she said, yes. And I didn't even tell her what it was. And then I said, we probably need to find you a partner. She's like, I have somebody. I said, this is working out way better than I ever thought it could have. So we had a major, major need, and Amanda and Tara rallied parents like I've never seen before. They stepped up, and we passed Measure S after narrow defeat by 103 votes or so. They energized the community and the parents to such an extent that we had a 10% improvement and one of the best pass rates of a bond in the state of California. If you don't believe me, you'll believe the numbers. A few of the details. These amazing folks handed out over 2,000 magnets, 200 buttons, 750 lawn signs, visited almost 6,000 homes. We knocked on 6,000 doors. Amazing. During the meeting, actually at 5 o'clock, about an hour and a half ago, I just got in the analysis for Measure S, literally. The county just got it to us. So here's a little bit of the numbers. Like I said before, a huge swing, 10% increase in yes votes. We had the highest ever parent participation rate at 69%. Our analyst said, right now it looks like every region in Las Virgenes voted yes. The highest being Calabasas at 68%. We always appreciate Calabasas votes. Agora right behind them at 65%. And two areas that have been a challenge for us came in as yeses. Bell Canyon at 61%. And the city of Westlake Village at 58%. You won the city of Westlake Village. They are, I talked to the mayor just today, and they are going to make a statue of you wonderful, amazing leaders. And it's going to be out there. I can't thank you enough. This is going to impact generations of students. Our schools are 60 years old. We've had a little bit of rain. Maybe you've noticed we had 170 leaking roofs going into the rain. Maintenance is a little concerned as we come out of the rain, but with Measure S, we are in great shape to set the course for future generations of students in Las Virgenes. Personally and professionally, I cannot thank you enough. You're all going to get big hugs in a second. But first up, Madam President.
Wow, wow. So the board voted to place this measure on the ballot. Dan had these two incredible dynamos in mind to chair it. And then Angela and I were asked by our board to be the board liaison. So we went out, we had a long lunch. I won't say that alcohol was involved, but anything to really get them to say yes and rope them in. And amazing, amazing. Their team was amazing. Anything, we were there to try to put the guardrails on because Angela and I have been involved in many measures, parcel tax, bond measures, and so we kind of know what to do, where to look out for, and they said yes to everything. They listened to us. They asked excellent questions, and the bottom line is they did it. They brought home almost a third of $1 billion. No, two-thirds of $1 billion, can't get the billion right, for the schools. And this week we know there's leaky roofs out there. So incredible. We have some wonderful gifts for you from the district and the board to thank you. And really, thanks are not good enough for what you've done for the children of this community and the staff. So here you go. We have a beautiful statue for our chairs from the district. And then this you have, well, let me get to the microphone so you can hear me. I'm coming back. Okay. Wait. Okay, so that's from the district, and we do have proclamations for everyone. And then we have a gift from the board that we all chipped in for something that we really felt that you both needed. So I'm going to spoil the surprise and tell you what it is. This one's for Tara, and Amanda, you have yours. A spa day at the Westlake Four Seasons. And Dr. Stepanowski offered to babysit or drive any carpools that you may need. But that comes out of our personal pocket. And so, Mrs. Capil, do you have anything you want to add? Would love for you to add something.
Just that when they first took this on, I said, you've been PFA presidents, and that's amazing, and it is a huge time commitment. if you can pull this off, you have the capacity to leave a real and lasting difference in this district. Our facilities are aging, and this is the only way the state makes available to us. If you know anything about school district budgets, they go to people. So we don't get money from the state anymore to fix and upgrade and repair things, and we needed it. And what they have done is going to last for generations. And when we were at the California School Board Association conference in San Diego in December, we talked to a number of districts who lost in 2020 as we did, and they said, we were scared to go back out. And when we told them we had a 10% swing, they couldn't believe it. So every time I get down about, things are always stressful, things are always moving, I think about this measure, and I think how amazing it will be and how we're bettering our classrooms for our students and for the teachers and staff who work in those classrooms. So we can't thank you enough. You've done something real and amazing, and you did it all of your own time. I think everything just stopped for you for most of last year, so we appreciate it.
Yes, give your kids a big hug and your husbands a big hug from us. Yes, would you like to say?
I just want to say thanks for all the work you gave us. We're just truly grateful for your guidance. Dan, you had my back all the time. You answered every phone call, every text message. And Leslie and Angela, the same. I don't know, we couldn't have done it without you. We wouldn't know where to start. And we just felt like part of the team and part of the staff at LVUSD and all of the staff and the teachers coming out and supporting us. Get over here. Say something.
No, thank you, really, everyone, and especially these people behind us here are part of our team. We could not have done it without the team behind us, and we are truly appreciative that you let us run this show because, like you said, it's going to pay off for years and years to come.
And when we needed a team, we would go down the list. We're oh, we got someone for that. Oh, we got someone for that. We know the best and the best of LVUSD that would be suckers and say yes to us too. So just want to say thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we got staff work communication.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Gleason, do you want us to delay for a few minutes, staff board communication, or Dr. Stepanowski or whoever, because we know we have auditors waiting.
Let's go to the audit.
Okay, so I'm moving right along here. Okay, so first up, we have, it's loading, approval of acceptance of audit report 2021-2022. Who wants to go? Dr. Stepp.
Madam President, members of the board, as part of our oversight, we have citizen oversight committees as well as external auditors who review our books and then meet independently with our board members and send the audit report independently to the board. Again, this is a prudent fiscal oversight to ensure the effective and appropriate expenditures of our monies. And of course, a big part of that is the trust and confidence the community places in us, as exhibited by things like Measure S passes. Dr. Gleason.
Madam President, members of the board, as you know, this process is independent and also in partnership with the Business Services Department. This is, it seems odd to say this, but this is an audit of the 21-22 school year. You'll remember this fall we presented the unaudited actuals. These are, this is a summary of what Eide Bailly, our auditing firm, found through reviewing those unaudited actuals. And we have Andrew Park, who has been a great partner throughout the audit process along with his team here to present the overall report.
Well, good evening and a happy new year. Thank you very much for considering my time constraint. I actually have 3 board meetings lined up this evening and yours being the first. So again, I really appreciate you pushing me forward. But so we've concluded the audit process, and surprisingly enough, last year was a tough year. Las Virgenes was one of the few that we were able to issue in a timely manner. We actually have just about 80% of my clients on extension through January and possibly through February. So we certainly appreciate Dr. Gleason and his team for kind of working with us to make sure that the audit gets issued in a timely manner. So without further ado, let's get to the results of the audit. Now, hopefully you had an opportunity to review the audit report, and the fastest way and the easiest way to kind of gauge how the audit went is to refer to the audit report page number 104. And I'm not sure if you have the audit report in front of you, but on page 104 is what we would call the summary of auditors' results. Now, when you arrive at this page, you're going to see 3 boldface headers. So as auditors, as Dr. Gleason mentioned, our primary responsibility is to audit your financial statements. And strangely enough, it is as of June 30, 2022, we're just about a half a year behind. That's our primary responsibility. Our secondary or ancillary responsibility is to also audit your federal compliance and also your state compliance. So without further ado, let's kind of get into the results of the audit. Now, before I just go through the summary of the results, I just wanted to kind of emphasize some of these key terms that auditors use. So as auditors, we're professionals and we render opinions based on the services that we provide. Highest level of assurance when it comes to an audit opinion is an unmodified opinion, followed by a qualified opinion, and lastly, a disclaimer or an adverse opinion. Again, highest level of assurance being an unmodified opinion. So now I'm going to go through each of the sections on page 104 of the audit report. Again, this is the summary of auditors' results, and just summarize the results of the audit. For the financial statements as of June 30, 2022, our opinion was unmodified with respect to the district's financial statements. During the course of the audit, we did identify some notable internal control deficiencies that were reported, and hopefully you had an opportunity to review them. Moving on to federal compliance, our opinion was, so with respect to federal compliance, we had to audit a couple of programs. And during the 21-22 fiscal year, we were required to audit your special education cluster, which is a federally subsidized special education funds. Second is your Education Stabilization Fund. I'm sure you've heard the term ESSER and GEAR pretty frequently during any budgetary presentation. There's a lot of strings attached to that money, so the feds basically are holding any recipient or subrecipients accountable as far as compliance requirement. And lastly, we were also required to audit what we would call ELC, otherwise known as your COVID testing. And you receive this fund directly from LACO. So again, based on the audit procedures that we performed on each of these programs, our opinion was unmodified, I guess, with the exception of your ELC, your COVID testing program, which was qualified. We did notice some key compliance components that the district did not adhere to, possibly due to the change in administration during the 21-22 fiscal year. Moving on to state compliance. State compliance, I do actually have good news. I don't really have much to report to you. Our opinion was unmodified with respect to the district's compliance with various state compliance requirements. And in case you're curious in terms of what we audit in terms of the state compliance requirement, a comprehensive list of all the programs are basically outlined on page 101 and 102 of the audit report. Again, our opinion was unmodified with respect to the district's compliance requirement under the state regulations. That pretty much summarizes my presentation to the board. Do I have any questions that I may try to answer regarding the audit?
Any questions?
Thank you, Andrew. Board Member Angela Cutbill here. So when I've talked to other districts and board members I know around the state, this was a particularly challenging year because there was so much kind of, excuse me, COVID and extra special, grants and relief money moving in and out of districts and from the feds that sometimes the reporting requirements and the documentation was changing almost, overnight. So everyone, I think, in the state has found the challenge of, this year is a little, it's just an unusual, extraordinary circumstance. So I guess that's it. I mean, I really appreciate your attention to detail in going through everything that we do here financially.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if I could comment on that, it's actually an understatement as far as what you're presenting. I mean, we've had unprecedented times as auditors just trying to address all these changes, and they're ever evolving, so it's just really hard to keep up. Case in point, we had a huge change in independent study program. State pushed out some regulations at the beginning of 21-22. Later throughout the year, they realized that, hey, we pushed, the state basically pushed out too late and too little, I guess. And they realized, wow, all the districts aren't complying. So as a result, they passed AB 181 to basically address and take back what they initially required. So there's a lot going on, and it's just really hard to keep up with everything, I guess. So that's been the challenge throughout the state.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
You're welcome.
Can you clarify which category was it that was not found to be unmodified? Which pool of funds was it?
This was your COVID testing money that you
Oh, COVID
received from
testing.
LACO.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hearing no more questions, I'm going to call for the vote. Or first, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve.
I move we approve and accept the audit for the 21-22 school year.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Terrific. Any more comments? Thank you, Mr. Park. We appreciate your fidelity. And I'm going to call for the vote. Student, are you in favor of accepting the audit?
Yes.
Thank you. Board, accepted. Board, all those in favor of accepting the audit?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have an audit. Thank you so much. Have fun at your other board meetings. I hope they go as quick as this one.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I think we're going to go ahead with the next action item, and then I won't forget staff board comments, I promise. So let's move to the approval of the adoption of Resolution 2122, certifying Measure S election results.
Dr. Gleason.
Madam President, members of the board, as was shared earlier tonight in our recognition, we're humbled and grateful at the passage of Measure S as we now initiate the process of beginning to secure funds, identify projects, working with Finance and Facilities Committee. Bond Council has advised us to have the board officially certify the passage of Measure S into the board minutes. And so your approval tonight allows for this to formally go into the board record, which then will help us when we get to the sale of bonds down the road.
Happily, I will ask for a motion.
I move we approve the Resolution 2122, entering the election results of Measure S into the board minutes.
I second.
Terrific. Any other comments? Thank you to the voters again. This is very exciting for the students and staff of Las Virgenes and the entire community. With that, I'm going to ask for a vote, call for the vote. Student, are you in favor of this resolution?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes. Let's quickly do consent A and consent B, and then we'll move to staff board communication. May I have a motion to approve consent A?
I move we approve consent A.
A second.
Terrific. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Student?
Aye.
Terrific. Board, all those in favor of consent A items?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Okay, may I have a motion to approve consent B?
I move to approve consent B.
Second.
Terrific. And this is a board vote only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now we're going to go back to staff board communication. Dr. Stepanowski?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Klein, can you cue me up? All kinds of exciting things to mention and share. First off, in no particular order, is a photo right after our last board meeting and before the winter break. We had cohorts 9 and 5 celebrate the graduation here of Center edX. Again, this program was recognized by CSBA for a Golden Bell Award just in November as an innovative program that is getting teachers and administrators credentialed during a teacher and administrator shortage across the country. Next one, Mr. Klein. Chaparral. Cooper was here tonight, and Chaparral was in the house, but very proud to share that they are California's Distinguished School. That list just came out. Super thrilled by their accomplishment and recognition, and we look forward to celebrating them and their staff, students, parents, community in Anaheim in a couple of weeks. Next up, Mr. Klein. This one's really exciting. They're all really exciting. This one just came in today, actually. A lot of breaking news today. Calabasas High School landed in the top 4% in the entire country. They were recognized, they were given the College Board Advanced Placement Computer Science Female Diversity Award. This award recognizes schools that close the gender gap and expand young women's access to computer science courses in EP Comp Sci Principles and EP Comp Sci A. Specifically, College Board honors these schools, Calabasas is one of them now in that top 4%. Honors these schools that have a percentage of female examinees that meet or exceed that of the student's female population percentage. So that is phenomenal. We could, by the way, Agora did receive this award a few years ago, so we're thrilled to have both of our schools receive this prestigious award and be in the top 4% of high schools across the country.
Can we, this is absolutely amazing and wonderful in what we strive for. Can we send out a press release and see if we can get this in the local paper at the Acorn?
As soon as I got it this afternoon, I shared it with Ms. Johnson, and they are working on it.
Thank you very much.
It may already be done.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Mr. Klein. We just had the Agora Showcase and Calabasas Showcase coming up on January 19th, but much appreciation to our staff that put these on. I know families are examining their options right now, and of course we want Agora and Calabasas High School to be on the top of their options. Next slide, Mr. Klein. Rory. So I had to share a picture. We saw Cooper tonight. Cooper's a brand new mascot for Chaparral, and here is Rory, the lion, at White Oak Elementary with our principal, Nicole Smith. So excited to welcome Rory to the team. And it's that season also for outdoor education. So this is a picture of Director Jenna Davenport leading our students, actually the interview process for our high school counselors to be a part of outdoor education. I think they've had the Thursday session and the Saturday session for interviews to work with our high school students who want to be a part of this. We're super excited about it. It's going to be 4 nights overnight for the first time since our pandemic, and we're excited to have that wonderful program back. I know my daughter did it last year, and it was absolutely one of the highlights of her entire senior year. We are enrolling also. We mentioned the showcase at Agora and Calabasas, but we are enrolling TK 4-year-olds through 12th graders. So all the information is on lvusd.org. And that concludes my staff comments, Madam President, members of the board. We obviously have gone late and long, so the rest of the team will punt, except Director Patterson and Davenport did want to share some information about Kindness for Kate.
Madam President, members of the board, in memory of Dr. Videra's extraordinary impact as a leader in our school district and beloved member of this community, every school in the LVUSD will be honoring her next week in a week-long Kindness for Kate campaign as part of the National Kindness Challenge. Principals and school staff are encouraging our students to actively pursue kindness as a way of life, to be characterized as kind and compassionate people based on their words, actions, and attitudes. With this, we honor Kate by following her great example.
You have in front of you on the dais a colorful collage that calls out some of the activities that will take place on our campuses. Things like Kindness Spirit Days, where we're going to dress up in fun, different ways to keep kindness at the forefront of our thoughts and share smiles. We'll have opportunities to serve with kids picking up trash and meeting the needs of others in myriad ways, learning to recognize when a kind deed is needed and acting on it. We'll have opportunities to thank people who should be thanked, to compliment others with sincerity, write notes that express our care for others. The Great Kindness Challenge is just that. It's a challenge. Emulating Kate's kindness is a challenge. Being kind requires thoughtfulness and a resolve to focus on the needs of others before our own. We can only hope to honor Kate with our effort to teach our students to embody and spread kindness the way she did.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have one request, looking at this. Because this is a district-wide event, right? But we're going to have a series of ongoing things and make it something that we always do. Can we initially, on these flyers, somewhere not just have a hashtag kindness for Kate, have a photo and have something? Because if I'm a parent at Willow, excuse me, if I'm a parent at Willow and I see this, the hashtag kindness for Kate will mean nothing to me at the bottom. I think at the outset, we have to set the tone that this is in memory of her, and the legacy that she left in our district. And, excuse me, what she wanted to be her legacy. So, maybe we can standardize like a banner across the bottom that has her photo, kindness for Kate, and and then we don't have to do that all the time, but the very first time out, a hashtag at the bottom just doesn't do it.
So Board Member Kapil, I appreciate the feedback. And the collage we presented to you is just snippets or parts of the communications that are going out to schools. So every school has led with the same flyer that we shared with you earlier that calls out our effort for the Great Kindness Challenge to be dedicated to Dr. Videra. So we led with that. The snippets that we provided you were just to show you some of the activities. But yes, we have provided a coherent messaging around that so that all of our families are honoring Kate through the week.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
That concludes staff communication.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pistotnik. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. It's always a struggle, but you got it perfectly the first time. I was impressed. Madam President, members of the board, as we return back from break, we would recognize all that has happened on our high school campuses. Calabasas High School hosted our winter pep rally to honor all those students participating in our fantastic winter sports. In the holiday spirit, ASB and our multicultural commissioners hosted a holiday banquet showcasing the food and cuisine of all our diverse communities which they share during the holidays. Moving forward, we are also excited to begin our Kindness for Kate campaign next week, along with all the schools across the district. Lastly, at Calabasas, the Coyotes are ready for our first talent show, CHS Got Talent, February 10th. Over at Agora, the Chargers are ready for their first... The Chargers have had a restful winter break and are ready to finish up finals and enter the new semester. The senior class recently hosted a battle for the bands in the pack where students showcased their talent. There was also a spirit competition held at Agora High School the past weekend in the gym, and we can't wait to keep sharing all the future of our high schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Gaines.
Nothing. Feels like old times.
That's what we were hoping. Mrs. Cutbill.
In the interest of time, I'll pass.
Okay, just officially, Mrs. Menges.
It's okay. I just want to welcome everyone back, wish you all a happy new year, and there were a couple of committee meetings that I sat in on once school started up again, but happy new year.
Thank you very much. And just my last thing is again, congratulations to Mrs. Gaines. We really appreciate you stepping up and filling in for the next couple of years. I know it's a lot, so thank you very much. And with that, we're going to move on to our info items. The first one we have is realigning board committees assignments. And with that, I would ask my fellow board members to please take a look at the meeting dates, take a look at the committees, and if you could email me your top 3 choices, we will be voting on them at the next meeting.
Okay.
And I will take into consideration committees that board members have not sat in, because my goal and my value, and I think we all share that value, is that all board members learn about the entire workings of the district. And we can.
bylaws.
And it's in the bylaws. There you go. And Dr. Stepp, superintendent committees.
Madam President, members of the board, same as Ms. Diane's comments. Superintendent committees are ad hoc committees, not governed by the Brown Act and obviously not approved by the board. Regardless, I would welcome input from board members on their interest of any of those committees that are on that list as well.
Thank you very much. And our next and last item is the Willow item. And I'm going to ask if there's any speakers here for the Willow item. Will you please fill out a speaker card? And I'm going to take speakers first. So if you still need to fill out a speaker card. Okay. And we're going to wait a minute and kind of regroup ourselves here. If you can give them to Ms. Falk. Thank you. Okay, I want to manage everyone's expectations on this agenda item to the best that I can as president. We are taking the speakers first, and each speaker will have one opportunity to address the board for 3 minutes. Speakers cannot concede or cannot cede time to someone else. Ms. Falk will then give her presentation, and this is an overview of the program. The board will then have the opportunity to ask questions. I just want everyone to know the district has approximately 1,000 employees. Each employee has a right to privacy. We will not discuss individual employees. The board does not make staffing decisions on individual employees. There are times, very rare, for mid-year changes when the circumstances warrant it. The district has the legal authority to make mid-year staffing decisions and changes, and it's something that they don't take lightly, that they like to do, because we all recognize it is disruptive, or can be, right? But, at times there's mitigating circumstances that that people may not be aware of, that warrant this, okay? And we cannot share that. The legal protections the law gives employees means that the reason for those changes and processes involved may not be shared publicly. We don't like to change classes, and therefore a mid-year change is done very rarely, as I said. So continue to work with the IEP team. We take concerns seriously, and we really do care about the success of our students. And the last thing I'm going to say right now is we know you came before and spoke, right? We're aware of it. And we did take your concerns seriously, that we know that Ms. Davenport, Ms. Falk has been involved, Ms. Davenport has been involved, Dr. Finneran's has been involved, and Dr. Stepanowski. And that was really at the board's request to dig deeper. So again, we can't share everything with you, the circumstances surrounding this, but we know you're unhappy, and we know change is not easy. And that's really all that I can say at this point. So I want to welcome up there's 3 speakers? Wait, there's 3? No, we're going to have the speakers first, thank you. So who wants to go first, Hannah or Fadi? I will. Okay. That's okay. That's not. Oh, this is a new one? For God's sakes.
Good evening, Madam President, the board. Thank you for the description, and we do understand what the board goes through and what administrators go through. We have spoken to a lot of people. We haven't received the answers. Part of the issue that we're having is understanding whether or not the personnel believes that this was the correct decision at the correct time, that was executed in the correct manner. And if it were, why do they believe that it was executed in the correct manner when there has been no transition plan, no opportunity for us as parents to be involved in preparing our children for this difficult decision? And why, after given the opportunity to meet with the decision makers and say, was this really, could this have been done any differently? Can we please do this in a way that can transition our child who's had the same teacher for 3 years in a way that incorporates her so that he doesn't have to go to school crying every morning? Is there a way that we can work on a transition plan together as parents? And what sort of began as a sort of what we thought would be a quick team building meeting where we said, where we expected for there to have been positive feedback to say, yes, we'll work with something with you. Yes, we understand this was difficult. We were frankly met with, no, tough luck, decision is final, deal with it. And we expected more, and we deserve more, our children deserve more. And it was just really strange and unnecessary. Why not work with us? I understand these decisions are difficult, but these are children in intensive behavioral program. They've had the same teacher for years. Why the coldness? Why this level of no, tough luck? We have 50 other students in the other classroom that we need to deal with. I just don't believe this was necessary or warranted. And to tell us that there was a transition plan when there, in fact, was not a transition plan, we felt lied to. And this is part of the core problem that we've had. We understand there are changes, we respect changes, we respect that teachers have to be moved around. What we don't understand is why not implement a real transition plan? A week's transition plan. What would have been impossible about that? We still haven't found an answer for that.
Thank you.
2 months in, no answer.
Mrs. Amir?
There's so much to be said about this. You know, I get hired to go into companies and take a look at their processes, take a look at their business strategy, their financial feasibility, and their organizational behavior. And when I'm being told that something that is clearly wrong, and I'm being told, what's wrong with you? This happens all the time. Why are you making a big deal about this? When I'm being told that, there's clearly a breakdown internally. There is clearly a process breakdown. There is this cultural complacency that's very worrisome that we're really, really troubled with. And on top of that, we have strong reasons to distrust this district, distrust the administration, because of not being able to be told the truth, and when others in the community have voiced their opinions, them being intimidated by mention of their children that have nothing to do with this issue. There is this complacency that is very troubling. And I'm not trying to rally up a crowd here. I'm really, really troubled about this. I know that there are wonderful people in this program. There are wonderful people on this board. But there is a complacency that is very, very troubling. You know, there's our kids are 2 times more likely to drop out of high school. Our kids are struggling intensely. And the fact that we're being told that, no, this happens all the time. And, you know, we're going to give you guys a behaviorist that has had no training academically to train our kids academically. and focus 100% on their behavior, when our kids are more than their behavior, our kids need to be transitioned and integrated. You can have a great behaved fifth grader, but if they go back into a fifth grade classroom and can't academically spell or read, you're presenting this vicious cycle where the behaviors are going to come back. And we did some research because we've been, cornered with, and Ms. Falk's presentation has the number of 8 students in this classroom. That number of 8 may be inconsequential to a number of 23 and 25 in the other classroom, but this number of 8 still have rights. According to the state law, the California Education Code, Section 56461, the state law requires that the superintendent establish capacity to provide transition services to a broad range of students with exceptional needs, such as academic training. And it goes on to say that this needs to be started at the elemental grades, that this longitude vocational education curriculum and the introduction of vocational and career education curriculum needs to begin in the elementary grade period. And we don't feel that bringing in a BCBA that has had no academic training for this period is the right academic training for our kids. It is just one-sided, is strictly behavior, and our kids are more than behavior. And that's
Thank you very much.
the main thing.
Dr. Stepanowski, we have an information item.
Sure, I think we've got some slides. Mr. Klein? In the agenda item itself. Yeah. Let Ms. Falk.
So just very generically going over the Willow program, what's provided, how we run the programs. Every elementary school has a learning center model, which Willow is included. The learning center model is where most of our special education students receive their services. It is a pull-out model, which means that the student's primary placement is general ed, and we pull the students out to receive their special education services. Some students spend majority of their day in the learning center, some students do not. We have 2 full-time special education students at Willow in the learning center model. Each one of those teachers has 2.5 level 1 paraeducators supporting the students. And DIS services such as speech, counseling, occupational therapy, et cetera, are all provided per the IEP for our learning center student. Willow happens to have one of our district programs, which is the enhanced behavior program. Several of our elementary schools have specialized programs. Willow is the only enhanced behavior program at the elementary level. We have other specialized programs. We have our social communication program, et cetera, which are at other school sites. It is a district program and not a site-based program. So that means students who attend other elementary schools can be placed in the enhanced behavior program per their IEP. There are currently 8 students in the enhanced behavior program. It is a highly specialized program. It is research-based. It is not currently taught by a teacher with a BCBA. It is taught by a teacher who, yes, background is behavior, but it is not solely behavior. We do teach academics in that class. We are a school, and we do continue to teach academics. But again, the focus is how does behavior impact a child's education and how we can work collaboratively with both of those to help these students progress. The end goal is eventually, hopefully, the students can transition out of a district program, but we do have programs at middle school and high school for those students who continue to need that level of support. No, there's another. Like I said, there's one special education teacher. There are 4 level 2 paraeducators. Level 2 paraeducators are highly trained in behavior. They go through a very intensive behavior program with a BCBA who is not the classroom teacher. And students, like I said, have the ability to remain in the classroom all day if needed due to behavioral needs, which may be impacting their ability to access their education at any given time. And that's an overview of the behavior program. Like I said, it's a low student-teacher ratio, which is true of all of our specialized programs throughout the district. And like I said, there's one elementary school currently that has an enhanced behavior program, and that is Willow.
Ms. Falk, can you speak at all to the transition? As Ms. Stein mentioned earlier on, we do make mid-year staffing changes. We don't like to do it. It doesn't happen very often. We know when we make changes, change is tough on everybody. Change is tough on superintendents. We, of course, are especially sensitive to, this at-risk population and their particular needs. And so I know all those things go into the thought process. And so given all that, transitions, aren't simple, and we don't do this often. Can you talk a little bit about some of the information or support that was provided through it?
I can. And some of the parents that I met with, what I'm about to tell you was what I told them. Without going into detail, we had a teacher resignation at Willow the Friday before Thanksgiving break that we needed to fill. We needed to get programmatically things in place prior to informing what the changes were going to be. It was Thanksgiving week. We were unable to get all those pieces together as quickly as I would have liked to. As a special education teacher and instructor for 36 years, I understand how sensitive it can be. As a parent myself, I understand that. When we did make the decision, we sent an email out, Ms. Reynolds did, the Willow principal, Sunday, informing the parents of the changes of both programs that were going to be affected. The parents in the Enhanced Behavior Program, we offered them a meet and greet the day that school resumed. We also offered to meet Ms. Reynolds and myself one-to-one with parents who had some concerns and questions. We had 3 sets of parents who took us up on that, explained the process that I just explained now as to why we had to make the decision that we did, what we thought was in the best interest of all students, and that's why we made the decision that we did. There was a transition plan. I know that parents were wanting earlier on notification, but because of Thanksgiving break, we did not have the pieces in place to be able to say definitively what that plan was going to be and making sure that those pieces programmatically were going to be in place. We did assure all parents that academically and schedule-wise, nothing would change, that the academic groups and curriculum that was in place would continue as it was, and that has happened. And we did have cross-communication between the previous behavior teacher and the current behavior teacher, and that is still ongoing. That was not just a one-time thing.
So, any questions? Can you speak to the transition plan, that there seems to be some concern about the transition?
My understanding from you is because it's over the break, you have the first half done where a teacher is moving, but because you don't have everything in place, you can't inform people of a transition plan. It doesn't mean there was no plan, just that it's over the long break and not everyone's contactable, and you have to do that before you can inform of the plan. That's my understanding. Is that what I'm here? Am I hearing that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay.
And can we get into any details about what the transition was?
In terms of,
I don't know, there seems to be a conflict. I guess basically what I'm going to say here, to close the meeting, if there's not any other comments, is to continue to work with your principal and Ms. Falk and keep them accountable. And that's all that's really, I mean, unless there's anything more you can add, Ms. Falk?
Yeah, I'm not clear on the transition. If
Mr.
they mean
Hull, please.
transitioning to the new teacher, transitioning different academics.
Yeah, I think
I'm
we have
not
a
sure.
difference of definitions here of what transition is.
So transitioning to the new teacher, okay. Parents were informed on Sunday night going back on Monday, and that was a tough decision and tough change, okay? So talk to us about the supports in place for that major change for these students, this population of students.
right, so we wanted to ensure the 2 teachers had time to talk and discuss so that when Monday showed up, they would have had a time to discuss, and then moving forward, how they were going to meet, what was going to transpire. We also had to alert the support staff of the changes, and so that had taken place. There was no need for a transition in terms of the academics, because those were not changing. The staff that was currently in the classroom, besides the teacher, remained. The paraeducators helped run those academic groups. All of that stayed the same. We did not make any changes to that. I do understand how, when the kids walked in, some of them knew the new teacher. There was no doubt about that. They had known her. Some did not. I understand that. But we did our best to have the two teachers work together collaboratively so that when Monday rolled around, they would be prepared. We had the former teacher come in that day to be able to say goodbye to her kids and explain what had happened. And then we have continued to have them work together. The former teacher has attended IEPs to help support that transition. She's still meeting with the teacher on a regular basis if needed. As the farther out we get, the less we have the need for that transition because she's been with them for a period of time. But it wasn't like it was, you're leaving, you're cut off. That was never the intent, nor did that happen.
Okay.
Okay, at this point, basically just keep working. Ms. Falk, will you continue to lead in? And Ms. Reynolds, please continue to lean in, support these families, support these students. As you know, our hearts go out to you. Change is hard, we know. And maybe we have a semantics, you know, but I asked, you heard me, we asked that Ms. Falk, Ms. Reynolds continue to lean in, continue to oversee. And we thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for your love and your care for your student and our students. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.